Phil Gerbyshak is an award-winning sales speaker and author, and here are his 5 steps to thrive in sales.
There are no heroes anymore. In social selling, the heroic part is the people that don't spam. The heroic part is the people that continue to add value, that do make that conversational next step, that are willing to just converse with no ulterior motive. Because frankly, I am just as happy if I get some information that I didn't have about you, Will, than if I was able to close that business. And I say that not because I don't like closing business, because of course, right, I have to eat too. But what I mean is, if I get that next bit of information from you, that thing that's going to open up so that now when I talk to 10 CEOs, now I have something of value to add to them. And now when I have a conversation with the next one, now I can say, you know what, I was talking with another CEO and this is what they said. This is what they shared. So it's no longer just about me or my marketing team. Now it's about them and their peers. And it changes the conversation drastically. The best location to connect, again, is LinkedIn on Sales Navigator shows you who's been active. You can go in there, see if they're active. If they're active there, if you see that they're commenting, if they're liking, if they're sharing, if they're doing things, interact with them there. If you notice that their company is doing something that relates directly to their job, if it's a CFO and they just announced that they got $50 million in funding, well, now is an opportunity now for you to have a conversation with them about, so what are you doing with that? How did you get that? Asking genuine questions, not being a sneaky salesperson, but asking that. And then we look on Twitter. Again, if they're sharing content or they're at least interacting with it, look at what they're liking. Look at what they're retweeting. Look at even who they're following, because those people, even if they're not actually clicking like, they're still influencing their brain. So maybe you interact with some of them so that you can say, well, I see you follow, Harvard Business Review. I was just having a conversation with Adam over at the Harvard Business Review about such and such a thing. This is where a conversation really helps you get to the point where you can actually connect, because you're like, oh, really? You had a conversation with someone that I'm already influenced by, thereby you are an influencer. That's typically how it works. And it's not that one is more or better or worse. It's which one is going to work. And that is, it's hard to tell. I mean, the signal is really very faint. You have to really be paying attention, but that's where you have to pare down your list of people that you're listening to. Sales Navigator helps that. Twitter lists, on Instagram, setting up notifications on the right people that you want to, target. On Facebook, a lot of people have it set up so you can follow them even more than you can friend them, or at least you can check out their profile. Because most people, they're somewhat public in their use of Facebook. Not completely, maybe, like I am, but at least somewhat. So maybe you have a friend of a friend. Well, okay, now we might have a pathway in. That hit and run networking that we used to be able to do, people used to be surprised when other people on Twitter, really? You use Twitter, Will? Holy cow. Well, that's not the case anymore. Wow, you're on LinkedIn. Well, no kidding. So is everybody else. Microsoft bought them for $26 billion in 2016. I mean, this is not a surprise that people are on LinkedIn. So absolutely. Go deeper, add more than the surface value. I mean, most of the time when I teach this, well, what happens is people make the easy out. They see the most recent thing that someone did and they use that for content. Well, everybody's doing that. Hey, wish somebody congratulations on their anniversary. LinkedIn has that as a trigger. Well, it's so bad now that people are asking, how can I make sure that I never get another anniversary note? Well, seriously, instead, I want you to go deeper. Instead, look at that 7 years ago. Here's how your business was 7 years forward. Now, here's how it is. What's changed? What insights have you learned, Will, as a result of having this Salesman podcast? Now, what number are you at? Like 130, 150, 500? I mean, come on, right? How much have you learned in the last 3 months, 3 years, 300 years that now you can share? And that would be something, because again, a senior executive, not that they necessarily want to directly mentor people that send them an email, but of course they want to share some insights. Of course, if you give them an insight, now they feel like they should give you an insight back. And if you ask a genuine, earnest question, they're going to answer you in a genuine, earnest way. But if they can tell that it's a leading question to figure out, right, if you're leading with the solution, well, now it's like, go away, you suck, right? Like that doesn't play. So now, okay, how else can you get connected? So who does that person know that might be able to make an introduction for you? How can you ride on the coattails of somebody who already has influence over them, right? Maybe it is your favorite author, right? Maybe you can get an autographed copy of the next book from someone. You know, I can tell you, I send out tons of books. I'm fortunate that I know a lot of authors. So I'm going to get autographed copies of their books and I might send them out. Say, hey, you know what? Here's the latest book by so-and-so thought leader. I bet you don't have a copy of it. You know, I'd love to talk to you about this book. Or, hey, you know, you could even do a quick interview with them. You could do little 3 questions with pick an author. Now it's on your LinkedIn profile. Maybe it's on your blog, right? People ask, should all salespeople blog? Well, all salespeople should ask questions. So ask questions. Use that as the basis. Again, show your path in through another person, right? Kind of go around the corner and then ride that in. And if they continue, you know, remember, they're getting inundated with messages. They're getting inundated with messages. So don't be afraid to pick up the telephone, you know, call people. Don't be afraid to do that. Know that some executives still actually do answer their phone, but you still have to be just as interesting, just as interested, just as engaging, and you have to try again because there is no magic bullet, right? To connect to virtually anyone, Will, you have to be persistent and you can't give up because who knows, right? They might not have seen them. Maybe on their LinkedIn profile, maybe it's an old Gmail address that they haven't checked in 3 years. Okay. Well, I get tons of people who send me email through my Facebook to connect. Guess what? My Facebook has an old Gmail address that the only thing I use it for is social media notifications. So once a week, I go through and I just delete everything that's in there. Well, if that's your path in and you're not actually connecting with me on Facebook, I never saw your message. We're human beings. We always overcomplicate things. But yeah, it's all about being different. Well, it's all about breaking through the noise. It's all about not doing what other people do. You know, one of my strategies is about connection starting with happy birthday. Well, most people, right, if they see it on Facebook, they might write HBD. Well, that's no big deal. Who cares, right? So go from there. Okay, maybe they post on their wall. Maybe they send them a private message. Maybe they post on their own wall and tag them. Maybe they see it on LinkedIn. But instead, I want to encourage you, pick up the telephone and call them. Every day, I make phone calls to wish people a happy birthday with no ulterior motive. No ulterior motive at all. Just, hey, Will, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday. Hope it's a great one. Doing anything special? Most conversations are 30 seconds or less. Well, in that 30 seconds, that person knows that I care about them. They know that I recognize their birthday. And often I'm the only person who called them on their birthday besides maybe their mom. Well, now when I might call on them, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years later for business, now we have a relationship and they remember. I can tell you, I called someone last Friday. I wished him a happy birthday. I've been wishing this person a happy birthday for 11 years. They called me apologizing that they missed my call and how forward they were looking forward to talking to me on their birthday because I knew I would call. Well, think about that. Now, instead of just being a burden, now they're actually looking forward to my call. So when I do call back, even if they're in the middle of something, they might take my call. That's pretty cool. That's where we want to go. That's different. That's value add. And that is a relationship that will earn you money.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that one. Click up here to watch another 5 Steps to Thrive in Sales video. Click down here to watch the full interview where all these clips came from.